welcome back to Appian World 26. We are streaming live in Orlando. I'm Alison Kosik alongside Dave Vellante, and things are hopping here at the conference.
Yeah, they are. We're going to lose our voice by day 3.
I know, we're sort of screaming, so if it sounds loud, just bear with us. I want to bring in our next guest, Medhat Galal. He's the Senior Vice President of Engineering at Appian. Welcome to theCUBE.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start talking about the excitement of AI generating code, and you're focused on enterprise grade systems. What's the gap between code creation and building something that actually runs the business?
Safety and reliability and the results that could be achieved with AI seems to still be elusive. So we build systems that are designed to be reliable and help businesses achieve those results. That's our entire focus. In everything that we build, we think about those two things.
So, you'll love this. I just went to Grok, and I said, Grok, vibe code me a clone of Appian software.
Yeah.
And it wrote all this Python stuff.
Yep.
And I said, will this work? It said, no, not even close.
No, I love that. I mean, there's a huge distance between, vibe coding is extremely impressive. I tinker with it, and as a recovering vibe coder myself.
Well, first describe what vibe coding is,
Well, vibe coding is the essential element of just chatting with AI to build an application, to build a website, to build a small widget, iPhone. You can do really amazing things by just chatting with AI without having the technical grounding or expertise to do it. But that's just the issue.
I'm feeling it. That's what vibe coding is.
That's right. It's a lot of vibes.
And then it writes the code. Look at it, it's amazing how the code it writes.
I know.
Does it work? No, of course it doesn't work. Right?
Even an expert sometimes can be deceived into thinking that that code alone is sufficient to build an enterprise-grade application.
Now, at the same time, if it's used properly, it's going to be incredibly powerful for a developer who knows what they're doing.
In the hands of the right professionals, in the hands and the guardrails of the right software, it's a very, very powerful tool. I had a focus in my master's thesis in AI, and I couldn't have told you 20 years ago like we would be here today. So it's incredibly enlightening to see that we can do this, but it has to be in the right side of the hand, people, that they understand what could it do and what are the limitations.
Well, that's interesting. You got your master's in
computer science, AI, focus on AI.
Which was kind of during the AI winter, right?
It was.
Right, I mean, so that was fairly prescient of you. So you must be super excited to see what's happening now.
Well, tell you the truth, it's not like I had the foresight. I just was a big game geek back in the day, Age of Empires. It allowed you to build AI agents like, oh, that sounds cool, I'm going to do that. Not out of some foresight.
So when the papers came out on transformers and the whole diffusion model thing, were you paying attention, or were you two heads down? I mean, what did you think about that? You were like, wow, finally it's here, or?
I thought it was a good peek into the future, but even back in 2016 and 2018 era, when those technologies and those papers came out, I don't think anybody would have anticipated what would have happened in 2022 and beyond. It was certainly starting to look like it could be very beneficial for business, for commerce sites, recommender systems. It was great, but I don't think anybody saw where we are.
Could we talk about the hype versus the reality? Organizations, they're using Claude to generate apps. Elon is buying Cursor. What are the real benefits, and where does this approach break down in enterprise environments?
The hype versus reality, I mean, Gartner's and Forrester and MIT have all shown research just in 2025 and 2026 that vibe coding and or even spec-driven development, another more constrained way to think about software design, has not yielded any reasonable or tangible results in sophisticated software for the enterprise. They never go to production. It looks great, and then they run into one problem after the other. If they can make it functional, they can't make it secure. When they make it secure and the model changes underneath you, then it changes all over again, and then you're back in maintenance mode. So you end up being a big maintainer of AI systems instead of building the application.
So I kind of took us off topic with my Grok joke, but I'm glad you responded to that. But the whole theme here is moving up the abstraction ladder, which is really interesting. We were talking to Matt earlier just about sort of, Appian's role. So what does that mean? I mean, AI, our whole industry is abstraction layers, from virtualization, cloud, and now AI is allowing us to do things much more simply and much more powerfully. What do you guys mean when you talk about moving up the abstraction ladder?
It's a great question. I love that you asked that question. There is a large distance from compute just compute and storage, all the way to just writing Java code or Python code that you got from Grok. Now, you still have to put that code together to deal with data, to deal with authentication and authorization, that users can't fake their identities, to make two systems talk together. Integration is another abstraction layer above them. Then you have to go into orchestration and business rules. How do you codify these? Then you have to talk about the user interface. How are you going to build those? All of these are different abstraction layers. In most cases, you can do this with high code that'll take you a very long time, and you'll make a lot of mistakes along the way. Now, Appian has guardrailed that entire process from having the intent and the ability to review. I tend to think these are kind of like the 4 holdouts for human beings: intent, review, judgment, and taste. Appian is all about those 4 stages. You can declare the intent, whether it's a UI, a business decision, a workflow, or a data model. We simplify it so that a normal mere mortal can reason about it from first principles very easily. You can review it so you understand it, as opposed to looking long list of Python code that doesn't make any sense. You get to make the decision. You reserve the right as a human being responsible to make a decision, and then you get to add your taste. Organization A is different than B. We live at that layer because everything below that is just toil.
And this is, that sort of conversational capability is relatively new, but the foundation was there. I wonder if you could describe how you built upon that foundation. What did that take? What was the engineering effort to do that?
So Appian has had its greatest foundations in process and data, the 2 strongest pillars that any organization needs. Everything you do inside an organization, including 2 people just trying to solve a simple problem, is a process if they have to do it more than once. Now, in order to do that, you need data. So Appian has catered for the last couple of decades. How do we make it easier for people to describe a process visually? They can see it, they can understand it, they can change it, they can describe it, no problem. And then data became the next blocker. For that process to work, you need to see data in motion. So we gave him that data capability. All we did over the last few years, since process can control bots, orchestrate human tasks, orchestrate UI that you get to see, why don't we put AI and agents just in the small box we need it to be? Not we, but the organization. And that's what we did.
Okay, so you didn't have to re-architect the system for AI, but you had to build in, I don't know, they call them harnesses and scaffolding. Can you describe what that's like?
We didn't have to build the core pillars that have been known to be Appian's strong suit in the market for the last couple of decades. We built the AI layer that allowed those parts of the system to interact fluidly and fluently with that system, to provide the guardrails, the constraints. You often hear about AI rules and skills. We made it such a fluid system to guardrail AI in the constraint system that we built. So inside of a process, if you have a little box that's supposed to do something, what are the inputs and outputs you need to manage for AI to do the job just in that moment and no more? So we had to build that scaffolding.
There are some concerns that AI can become a kind of rabbit hole, accelerating development, but also accelerating technical debt and IT sprawl. What are your thoughts about that?
I have a lot of strong thoughts about this because as I mentioned earlier, as a recovering Vibe coder, I actually my wife is like, are you going to stop coding on AI 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
It's a very challenging endeavor. I'm a software engineer by trade, even though I manage a large contingent of Appian engineers. And it's one of the hardest things I had to do. It was very exciting at the very beginning, just seeing something pop on screen very quickly. But I found myself spending more time correcting the mistakes of AI once I got a stable system. To get started, it's amazing. Screens splash and things happen. But then the nuance of how rigorous the system needs to be started to have this long tail of problems that I'm spending more time just correcting it all the time. These are the kind of things I wanted to prevent when we build a process and a data system, because I wanted organizations to just don't deal with the data problems, let me just deal with it. One last statement I want to make. One of my favorite t-shirts Appian has ever had is, I write code so you don't have to, because it's really a hard job. AI is just as hard.
So, you guys are supporting MCP. Things happening so fast. You saw the OpenClaw, moment.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading about Project Conway the other day. I don't know if you're familiar with that, right?
Yeah.
But so, quite interesting. Anthropic, grabbing its little pieces. What are you doing with MCP? How does that help? Where do you see it going in terms of your architecture?
Again, it may sound cliche, but Appian has always lived, since I joined the company 21 years ago, Appian has lived on certain specific principles and ethics of how to build software to benefit our customers. These principles actually make their way into the architecture. and I promise I have a point to make. Everything we build in Appian is designed to be a good enterprise citizen. I never want to create a walled garden. You want to bring a different system for authentication, I'll allow you to talk to it with ease. Input and output, no problem. You want to integrate with a different system, I'll do that. You want to integrate with a different data system, we do that. We gave AI the same treatment. You want MCPs for your agents to talk to Appian capabilities, we exposed it. That's an announcement we're making this conference. You want other agents to talk to Appian agents. We're going to use agent-to-agent protocol to do the same thing. It's all about openness, it's all about choice.
Okay, well the obvious sort of VC follow-up question is, okay, but how do you protect your IP? What's your moat? What's your value add that you protect? Which, by the way, the entries and exits into your system have to be about choice and openness, but then tell us about how you create that moat, that unique advantage for Appian.
Our unique advantage has been in the data and a process system and the governance and security that we afford to AI that is very hard to replicate. Mm-hmm. Being open and being protected at the same time are not at odds with each other. So that entire layer of governance, that entire layer of security, that entire layer of orchestration and data is something no one will be able to replicate easily at all. And that's kind of where my agents run. But I will let you interact with my agents, and those agents will use those Appian capabilities in my platform.
So, as we move up the abstraction ladder, you guys talk about orchestration.
Right.
That's kind of the new control plane for your customers? Is that how they should be thinking about it?
That's how they should be thinking about. Ultimately, how humans interact with systems comes down to the few important touch points. You know, before document extraction required a lot of humans to open a PDF document and open a different screen and then copy and paste, swivel chair. And AI can do that, but the decisioning process of the information on that page will reserve that to the human. So Appian abstracts the toil away without removing the responsibility. I often say, you can't put AI in jail. Mm-hmm. So we give you that control, we give you that governance to be accountable and responsible while AI takes away the things that prevented you from doing business as fast as you want to.
As a head of engineering, how has AI affected your team? How are you using AI internally to write code, to test code, to ideate? How are you using it, and how has it changed over the last couple of years?
Greatly, and to varying degrees. So the early adopters were vibe coders. So I was like, oh my God, I can build a screen. I don't have to talk to engineering anymore. Like product managers specifically, it's like, oh, I can build the whole thing. And then they come to grips with the reality of what I found out 4 months later. But it helped in that regard because they can figure out how to build the right product, which is an immense responsibility for product managers. So we love the fact that our product managers can now just think about an idea and immediately, without having to coordinate with capacity or people, I can just build it. It's not important, it's just throw away a prototype. I can just visualize the right product I need to build for my customers. They can do 15 prototypes in the same window that would have taken us, I don't know, 2 months. For our typical engineers, things that took them time, industrialized code reviews, industrialized quality assurance, we can bring AI in that moment to help them do the things like writing the Python code, which they can read, in the small or in the large. It allowed our engineers to experiment with areas of infrastructure that they didn't really, it's not really that important for them to do, but AI can do really, really well. So it changed all of these. It's also changing the culture.
So does the PRD become a vibe-coded prototype?
Up to a point, until you have to ship it. Then we have to put our engineering weight and our rigor into it.
But the requirements, Doc,
100%.
Now becomes
it becomes a source of truth.
A demo, essentially. Yeah. And then the product manager can say, I don't like this workflow or the way it works, so let me just change this, change that.
It became cheap to think about an idea, as opposed to let's spend meetings and time thinking about which idea should we carry forward, because the expense is so great. With the ability to build prototypes very quickly, the cost of software nearly became zero. You've just enabled a whole bunch of people that otherwise have to say, I got 100 ideas, I got to pick one. Now you can pick all 100.
How does it, and if so, how does it change the type of technical talent that you want on your team? Are you looking for different skill sets? Are you asking your team to sort of rethink what they get good at? How do you think about that?
So the latter. I feel I have a responsibility as a manager of managers of people, is that I got to protect them from what's to come, because I feel like it's a huge wave. Actually, Matt, our CEO, said that phrase eloquently, is like, when a typhoon comes, you want to be behind the wave, not on the shore. So I am working with my engineers to prepare them in that regard. It's like, don't think about what your job is, just think about what it could possibly be, and adapt, because AI is not going to replace humans, still have to have taste. It's going to replace the person who's not using it effectively. So there's a bit of a mindset change and a lot of risk taking to do experimentation. I'm just encouraging that there are no wrong here. Since we're not shipping that software, just keep iterating, you'll find the next best thing to do, but don't think about your role today, I'm a software engineer, that's all I do. It's okay to have a product mindset as an engineer, do that. A product manager, it's okay to play a little bit of an engineer, do that. The lines are blurred, and that's what I'm encouraging.
I think that's the right way to look at it, Alison. AI is not going to replace your job, but somebody who knows how to use AI is the one who's going to replace your job.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure. Thanks so much for coming on theCUBE and talking about this great topic.
It was a
we
pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, great kickoff for CUBE After Dark, Alison. Great working with you tonight. Look forward to the next 2 days.
Absolutely, and it's really getting started here. You've been watching theCUBE, the leader in live technology coverage. Thanks for watching.